Hello, welcome to Brexit Nomads. We're just sort of getting off the starting blocks with our posts. And I think Graham, in his last post, spoke about medication and how we try to get around that one by not living in the shadow of a hospital. The problem with medication, for most people, it doesn't really start until they're in their 70s. It can define you, and basically, you have to live within spitting distance of a hospital, and you end up having all the medications out on the breakfast table, and it defines you. Whenever people phone you up to ask you how you are, you talk about your medical ailments, which is not a healthy place to be, actually. But I'm going to talk today briefly about how we found meditation. I'm not going to take you into a meditation. I might do that in a future post. It's not a scary thing at all, and it's very beneficial, because without a healthy, clear, calm mind, doesn't matter how many of the synthetic meds you take for various conditions. It won't help you very much unless your mind is in the right place, which is what we try to do. And we've been studying Kadampa Buddhism now for 10 years. And we first found it because we were both out of control in Brighton. Anybody will know what you're talking about when you say Brighton. It instantly conjures up the sort of things that can happen, and you get a bit addicted. And Graham found the Kadampa Centre in Hove, called the Bodhisattva Centre, and there was a lovely monk in there called Jen Chodda, and we really liked his teachings. And Graham said, "Why don't you come along?" And I was quite reluctant, as I'm sure a lot of you would be. So no, I don't. We've got there are images of Buddhas in everybody's, toilet, shelf, garden. It's an image that you buy to make you feel calm and peaceful. You hope that it makes the garden peaceful with a statue of Buddha somewhere in it. This particular house in Rutland, they've got about half a dozen different Buddhas and things all around the place. But the lady is an artist as well, so we'll let them off on that one. Although, of course, they don't really know much or anything at all about Buddhism. So Graham said, "Why don't you come along with me?" And I did, and I sat in, and they always begin their meditations with the liberating prayer. And I just sort of was holding back the tears. It actually made me feel quite emotional. I thought, oh, okay, well, if that's just the beginning of this, then let's carry on. But then we decided to move to Spain, sell up and move to Spain altogether, which meant leaving the centre and the little cottage with a pool on a few acres of land for about £450 a month. Yes, it really was. Seemed to be in the middle of nowhere. It was up in the mountains, the Alpujarra Mountains above Malaga, and the nearest town is Alarin El Grande. And we thought, well, that's the end of Buddhism then. So Graham mentioned it to Jen Chodda, and he said, "Where are you going?" And Graham said, "Where we're going." He said, "I don't think you'll have any problem there." And he leant behind him and picked up a leaflet about the temple in Spain, and it was in Alarin El Grande, not in Madrid, not in Barcelona. It was actually in this little backwater where we were just about to go and live. So that seemed like it was meant to be. Sometimes you have to follow, well, we do try to follow the karma with everything all the time now. And luckily for us, we had one of the most inspirational, I think he was an enlightened being, this little monk from Yorkshire, who himself stumbled into the Manjushri Conishead Priory not long after it had opened, and he thought he was just going to walk straight in and out. He didn't. He stayed, and he became ordained, and he was a really fantastic monk called Jen Tarpa. So we went along to the expat Buddhism in English, which there was only sort of half a dozen of us, unfortunately. He could speak, he taught himself perfect Spanish, and he really got that centre up and running. And since then, there's now actually a massive temple there. Wouldn't recognise it from when we were there. It's a massive temple, and that one represents the whole of Spain, really. I think they've got another one on the outskirts of Barcelona. But anyway, why do you need, you get the images, there's Buddha Shakyamuni, and that was given to us actually, the postcard which I put in a nice frame, by Jen Deklong, who's the head nun basically in Manjushri in the Lake District. And this one is Medicine Buddha, that was given to us by a monk, a Greek monk who was living at Manjushri at the time. And these two little chaps, they're all different shapes and sizes and stuff like that, were given to us from our last house sit, because the elderly couple were going to Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and they were so taken with talking with us about Buddhism before they went that apparently the taxi driver took them to see one of the Buddhas, and she just burst into tears and was very affected, and she really wants to look more into it. The simple reason being is when the Dalai Lama started coming to the West, he would go into some, be entertained at some very posh country estates in America and in England and places like that. And he'd say at face value, these people have everything and they've got so many things. But then you go to the bathroom cabinet and you see the antidepressants. So there's something not quite right, isn't there? If it was purely about having possessions, we did it ourselves. We're coming from the other side of it. We did it ourselves. Unfortunately, it gives you a small amount, a short time frame of happiness by getting a brand new car, whatever it happens to be. But then it's old already. Your next door neighbour's bought the next model, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, that didn't last very long. Or a new pair of shoes, particularly for ladies, shoes and dresses. Might make you feel nice once, but you can't really keep wearing that dress every day. So it doesn't work, unfortunately. If it did, then that would be a much simpler answer, really. So we need to work on a happy mind, and how do we get that? When you say the mind, a lot of people think, oh well, it's here, isn't it? Well, that's not the mind at all. That's the human brain, which is part of the body. Buddha tells us the mind is found here near the heart chakra, and it has no shape or form or colour, and it's as vast as an ocean, or looking out to space. And this is the mind, and we are hosts, our carbon bodies, which is 80% water or whatever we're meant to be. We carry this mind, and because that mind has followed through from previous lives, it sounds a little bit sort of science fiction, but these things have sort of been scientifically proven now. Why would Mozart, or a child prodigy, just be able to play the piano from scratch? Another kid gets born and dies of cancer before he or she is 2 years old. Some people are born disabled. Others, a bit like cockroaches, they live well into their 90s and they've hardly had anything wrong with them. It doesn't make any sense. It's all from previous lives. Oh, here comes the other dog. Pata! This is Pata. This is the other dog we're looking after here. Pata, come on, make your appearance on Brexit Nomads. This is Pata. And she's the other rescue dog from Spain. And they're both very loving dogs, actually. And we've just taken them for a really lovely walk in the Rutland countryside. Third time we've been in this house. So, yes, alongside medication, you do need meditation. Like I say, I'm going to, not now, in another post, I will give instruction on how to, just the basic breathing meditation, which is where everybody starts, which is actually the really, really important one, because without that you can't go on and have objects to meditate on. You've got to get to grasp with what is a basic breathing meditation. What's your posture, how do you get into it, and how do you keep that concentration? But I'm not going to go down that route today. So yes, so we found Gentapa in Spain. That was wonderful, and actually sort of kept us on track knowing that that was there. And then when Brexit hit, we applied to be residents. And when you first go into the centres, one of the questions you ask the people is, how do you become a resident? Because it seems too good to be true that you could actually be given an apartment for a rent and a certain amount of hours volunteering per week. It's individual to different people. That's why there is no sort of blanket answer to that. So we were there for a year, and it was actually the COVID. They were coming out of COVID, and we were kept in isolation for the first 10 days coming back from Greece into Thornbury Hall. And our food was brought up to us by nuns in tiffin tins, which you have in India. And they kept us alive for the first 10 days, and then we stayed on there for a year. And it was an incredible experience to basically be living in a stately home, and come 4 o'clock, the general public leave the grounds, and you basically got it to yourself with the dozen or so other residents. So that's really wonderful. And I think I'm going to leave that there as the posting of the day. So alongside, there's no point having medication without some sort of meditation. If you can get it from Christianity or Islam, that's absolutely perfect. But just keep climbing up the same hill. We've looked after people where their bookshelves, not this couple, but where their bookshelves have everything from Nelson Mandela's Long Life, A Long Walk to Freedom, to Buddhism, Hinduism, yoga, just you name it, every single thing. But they don't really absorb any of it. They just sort of picked up the book at an airport, like the colour of the cover or whatever, but never really got into any of them. So it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that Buddhism is the only way to be a calm character and to keep yourself calm. Actually, you can do it through other religions, but just keep going with the one, and you'll get there. And then you get wisdom. That's all you want. As you get older, you just want the wisdom to know that that woman that pushed you on the bus, for example, or a bit of road rage, feel compassion for them. They're not doing it for your behalf because they don't even know it's you. If it wasn't you that they pushed with their shopping bags outside of Tesco, if it wasn't you, it would have been somebody else. It wasn't personal to you. Then you must feel compassion. There's compassion here now already. There's a guy just around the corner, and I think they know him as Mad John. They're giving him a label, and he just mows his lawn for hours and hours on end. And there's obviously something going on there. So rather than sort of marching around and seeing what's going on, you actually have to have compassion. So I'm going to leave this here.